Hello students, hope all of you are doing well in this lockdown period, and we shall carry on our online teaching and learning session through YouTube and EduCampus. We were discussing about formal language and automata theory in our previous lectures, and we shall continue till 31st May at least until our syllabus gets covered. And we already covered up to push down automata, but from today we are going to revise some of the previous lectures as we are closing to the finish of our syllabus and course curriculum. So we are going to buckle up all of the remaining topics in between. So that's why we are going to start looking back to the finite automata part. So let's start today's lecture. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the minimization of DFA. We have already covered the topic of DFA back in the day when we were taking the classes in our college. But after the lockdown, we didn't discuss the remaining part of that DFA part. So we are going to cover up some of the remaining portions that were not covered during that part. And also I found out or marked out some of the miscellaneous topics that we have left over throughout the syllabus we have completed till now. That means we have completed till push down automata chapter. So we have only one module left, the module of Turing machine. But before moving on to the last module, we need to cover up all of the remaining parts. So that is going to take the whole lot of next week, and after that in the last week of May we are going to proceed to the last module. Okay, so that is how it is going to work. So let's discuss about the minimization of DFA. So the basic definition behind the minimization of DFA is obviously whenever there is a DFA and you want to use a minimal version or lesser number of steps to reach the final state, then only you can call it that we have minimized the DFA, or the DFA is already minimized as found out. Okay, so let's say, so let's say for an example, let's say that one example took 5 states to reach to the final state, and another example used 4 states to reach the final state. It is possible, right, that you are going to use some different paths, and different paths are going to lead to the same final state starting from the initial state. So it is obviously possible, but whenever we are reaching the final state using these 4 states, obviously it is going to be the better version, or it is going to be the minimal version, you can say, and it is going to be accepted much quicker than this one. Okay, because if you are thinking about a process that is taking lesser time than another process that is taking higher time, obviously that process that is going to take lesser time is going to be accepted. So for this reason we need to minimize the particular DFA. So how can you minimize the DFA? You just find out the similar or relevant states and you combine them together, and then you proceed, or then you draw the transition diagram accordingly, and you find out that what is going to be the ultimate solution of that. So actually what happens is, maybe here let's say you have got Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, and you found out that Q1 and Q2 are basically the same state. So what you need to do, you need to combine them together. Okay, and you need to call that state Q1 Q2, and using that you can reach to the final state. Let's say that Q4 is the final state. This is not going to be the different than this one, which is already minimized, or which is already the minimal version, because also there is only 4 states. So regardless of whatever state you have combined, or whatever the measures you have taken, the only important thing is how many intermediate steps are there between the initial and the final state. So that is the main motivation behind the minimization of DFA, or deterministic finite automata. So how can you identify two states are similar to each other? That is called the equivalence of two states. Okay, so let's say two states A and B are said to be equivalent if transition of a comma x is leading to the final state, and transition of b comma capital X is leading to the final state. That means, let's say that we are going from q0 to q1, okay, and it is happening, let's say, uh, using 1, and whenever we are applying 0, we are going to get a self loop, okay. So in that case we need to check that whether these transitions will be same. So let's say this is a state, and let's say another state is there, let's say q3 is there, okay, which is also leading to 1, okay, or sorry, q1, and it is also having the same thing. So in that case we need to follow the transition, that if we are applying the 0, is it leading to final state? No. So this is accepted. You can see that it is not leading to the final state. If we are applying 1, is it getting accepted? Yes. So it is a final state, we are reaching to the final state. For b state or this q3 state also the same thing is happening, okay. So whenever we are applying 1, it is reaching to the final state. Whenever we are applying 0, it is reaching to the non-final state. So in either of these two cases, it can be said that these two states, this one and this one, are equivalent to each other, okay. So you have to keep in mind that they are going to be called as equivalent to each other only for if the same transition is leading to the final state, or the same transition is leading to a non-final state. Both are accepted. That means either of them is going to be accepted. If it is if both of the same transition is leading to the final state, it is going to be accepted. If both of them are and it is not going to the non-final state, then also it is going to be said as equivalent. So what is the 0 equivalent, 1 equivalent, 2 equivalent, and n equivalent? So as per the definition, you can see that, let me just first of all tell you that x is an input string. That means for this example 0, 1, these are the x. So whenever mod of x is equals to 0, then a or b is said to be 0 equivalent. When mod of x is equals to 1, then a and b are said to be 1 equivalent. And then whenever mod of x is equals to 2, then a and b are said to be equivalent, and when it is equals to n, then it is said to be n equivalent. So what actually happens is, whenever you are finding out the equivalence, we need to find out that what are the equivalent states are there. So let's say there are three states, among them a and b are equivalent, okay, and c is another state. So let's say this is c, this is a, this is b, let's say this is c. Okay, in the next iteration, we need to repeat the same thing. So, due to some reason, we found out that now A and B and C are going to be different sets, because they are between these two, these were equivalent at first. But when we are checking again, it is not equivalent in the next iteration. That means we need to follow the same thing and try it over and over again until we are getting the same result over and over again, okay. So if we get the same result, then only we need to uh, discuss that we cannot proceed further, because we are getting over and over again the same result. So whatever the same set we have got, you need to pair them together and you need to consider them as a single set, as I have said in the mm, in few minutes ago, okay. That is how it is going to work. So 0 equivalent, 1 equivalent, 2 equivalent, n equivalent are nothing, but they are just going to be the iterations where we are going to check that how it is happening whenever we are increasing the iteration. So at first you are going to check between A, B, C. Then from that you got A and B, you are going to check between A and B, and finally if you have got three of them separate, so there is no need to check, because individually they are going to be always A, B and C, okay. So in that case there is no minimization possible in that case, okay. Only if there is a pair you are founding that is coming over and over again, only then pairing is possible, and only then minimization is possible. So all of this will be cleared in the next um, in few minutes whenever we are discussing the example of this minimization of DFA. Okay, so now we are going to look at one example for DFA minimization. Okay, so you can see that in this example there are 5 states of A, B, C, D, and D, and we also are given the transition diagram and transition table. Okay, if you are not having these two, you have to draw it from whatever the transition given in your question, then you need to minimize it. Okay, but generally if you are asked to minimize anything, at least there should be a transition diagram given. So from the transition diagram you need to draw the transition table and then proceed forward. Now if you look at the transition table or transition diagram, or you can see that A, B, C, D, these four are non-final states, and E is actually the final state. A is the initial state. So whenever you are looking at the uh, equivalence between the states, you need to keep this E aside because it is already a final state. Okay, now we need to pair. First of all, during the zero equivalence, we need to pair A, B, C, D together, and we need to keep E away from them as it is already a final state. Okay. Now what is next? We need to look at one equivalence. Now whenever we are looking at one equivalence, we need to apply that formula that we already discussed in our previous slide, that we need to see and look at the transition, and then we need to look at that are the states belong to the previous equivalence or not. Okay, so let me take an example. So let's say first of all we are having these two states A and B. Okay, so let's talk about the over here. So delta A comma 0 is producing B. Delta B comma 0 is also producing B. So this is accepted. But it is not over yet because we need to see delta A comma 1 is producing C, and delta B comma 1 is producing what? D. Now these two are same, these two are not same. Okay, but according to the previous slide, we have seen that even if both of them are not same, if they are non-final state, you can consider it. But also in that case, uh, you have to look at the equivalence. That means the previous equivalence. Okay. So if these non-final states are not same and they are different and they are paired together in the previous equivalence, then you can accept it. Okay. So for four of these transition it is accepted. So this is basically accepted. Why? Because C and D were in a same equivalence in the previous equivalence. Okay, so A and B are one equivalent. Okay, because all of the transitions are accepted. I hope that is clear to everyone. So let me just rephrase it. A0 and B0 is both are producing B, so there is no problem. But A1 and B1 is producing C and D. Both are different, but they belong to the same set in zero equivalence. Hence, these two can be said that these are equivalent to each other. So these two are equivalent to each other, these two are equivalent to each other. So A and B are one equivalent to each other. Okay. Now next up is C. Okay. Let me just erase the whole thing. Okay. Next up is C. Now, whenever you are looking at C, you can compare it with either with A or B. Okay. So let me just compare it with A. So whenever you are looking at A, you can just look at the table and say that it is having exactly the same output as A. Okay, so you can say that this is actually going to be paired together. But also if you look at B and the transition of B with C, okay, you will find out that for 0 you are getting the same result, but for 1 you are getting D and C. But D and C are already paired together in the previous equivalence, so you can count uh, C as the one equivalent to A and B. Okay. Now next we need to move to D. Let me just draw this properly. Okay. Next we need to move to D. Now whenever we are looking at D, the transition you will see. So now we have A, B and C as one equivalent, so you can compare with either of them. Okay. So let me just compare it with, let's say, A. Okay. You can alternatively try anything else apart from A. That is up to you. Now A's transitions are these two. This one and this one. Okay. So if I do transition on D, what I am going to get? D0 I am going to get B, and for D1 I am going to get E. Okay. Now for A0 I also got B, so this is accepted. But for A1 we got C, and for D1 we got E. Now this is actually not abiding by the previous rules that are stated, that this one is the non-final state, this is the final state. This is one thing. And also in zero equivalence you can see that E is having a completely different state. So this D and A are not one equivalent to each other. Okay, because the output of C and E, one is non-final, one is final, and also E belongs to a separate set whenever we are looking at the previous equivalence. So D doesn't belong to the same sets. Now D is having a set of its own. We don't need to look at E because it is having a set of its own. Now we are moving to the two equivalence. Now whenever we are moving to the two equivalence, first of all, again we need to look at A and B. Okay. Now, if I look at A and B, obviously for A0 I am getting B, for B0 I am getting also B. But for A1 I am getting C, and for B1 I am getting D. Now I need to look at the previous equivalence. Now you can see that C and D belongs to separate set. So that means A and B cannot be said as an equivalent. So B is going to have a separate set, A is going to have a separate set, and D and E already had their separate sets previously. Now A and B is done. Now we need to look at C, and in order to look at C we need to compare it both of them. So it is possible that it will might end up with either of them. Okay. So if I compare it with C, so for C0 we are getting B, and for C1 we are getting C. Okay. Now for C0 I am getting acceptance with A0, B0. But for A1 I am getting C, so there is an acceptance. But for B1 I am getting D, so C and D doesn't belong to the same set in the previous equivalence. So obviously B and C are not going to be the two equivalent to each other, but A and C are two equivalent to each other. So they are going to form a set of their own. Now I don't have anything remaining. Now I need to move at three equivalence. So if you move at three equivalent, you will find out that it is going to produce the same result. You can try and you will see that it is going to produce the same result. So ultimately what we got is A and C are a equivalent set to each other. So whenever we are drawing the new transition diagram, we will combine both of them together, and then we are going to proceed further. Okay, so how it is going to look like, we'll just see in a moment. This is how it is going to look like. So I've just combined A and C over here. I've just removed this thing, and this is happening. Okay, and you can also write AC over here, and you can completely erase this thing. Okay, so there is no problem. Remember, you have to carry on all of the operations that happened on the C. So there is actually no problem. It had a self loop. A didn't have a self loop, but there is no problem if AC is going to have a self loop, because uh, C was having a self loop on itself because it was producing C. Okay, so there is no problem if you give a self loop over here. Okay, so I hope it was clear to everyone. There are some obvious restriction in this thing. So for example, if there are some non-reachable state, let's say there is a state of F over here, okay, and you cannot reach it anywhere, like this, like this. So what you need to do, you need to completely remove it before proceeding to the minimization of the DFA. Okay. So if there is an unreachable state in your DFA, you need to completely remove it before minimization. And what is going to happen when there are multiple final states involved? So whenever there are multiple final states involved, you will see that whenever you are calculating the 0 equivalence, 1 equivalence and 2 equivalence, obviously if multiple final states are there, they are going to be paired together, and multiple non-final states are going to be paired together during the 0 equivalence. As we proceed towards the 1 equivalence, we are going to find out that which two are going to be paired together. But for the final states, obviously it is going to remain paired together, because obviously they are the same states. Okay, so there is no problem in this. So you can see that the final states got paired together, and their outcome also got paired together, because uh, whenever you are applying 0 on C, it is actually going to E, and E is also having a self loop on 0, and D, for D there is no operation on 0, so there is no problem if you give a self loop on the total thing CDA. Okay, and F is going to be staying alone. So that is how it is going to look like. For 0 you are going to give a self loop, and for F you are going to give a self loop for 0 and 1, and for AB you are going to give a self loop on 0, and for 1 it is going to the final state of CDE. So that is how the minimization will happen. This is a very important topic. Whatever you have seen so far is based on the transition, and now we are going to see a table filling method, which is known as the Myhill-Nerot theorem. This is a very important part. So what is the algorithm, or what is the rule behind this Myhill-Nerot theorem? So first of all, you need to draw a table for all pairs of states. Mark all pairs where P belongs to F and Q belongs to not F. That means the final states and non-final states, you need to mark them. If there are any unmarked pairs such that delta P comma X and a transition of Q comma X is marked, then mark P comma Q. Obviously X is the input symbol. Repeat this until no more markings can be made. combine all of the unmarked pairs and make them a single state in the minimized DFA. So obviously this is a little bit of backtracking method to whatever we have discussed. Now we are going to find that which ones are actually uh, not going to be the same transitions or same pair, not going to belong to the same pair, and the unmarked pairs are going to be combined into a single state. Okay, now this might sound a little bit confusing, but let's take an example and see how we are going to solve it. So let's take an example of this particular DFA. Okay, so it is having 6 states, you can see, and this is actually the previous example whatever we have discussed for the multiple final states. So whenever you need to draw a table for all pairs, actually this table would look like something like this. Okay, but you need to remove the upper part and you need to keep only the bottom part. Okay, so that's that. So first step is done for this one. Drawn the table. Now mark all the pairs where one is a final state and another is a non-final state. So you can see, that let's first of all take the example B and A. Both are non-final states, so you cannot mark this one. For C, so first of all let's look at the C, D and E as these are final states. So C with A, I can mark this. C with B, I can mark this. Okay. Now let's go to D. D is a final state. D with A, I can mark this. D with B, I can mark this. But D and C both are final states, so I cannot mark this. E is a final state, so I can mark with A, B, but C and D both are final states, so I cannot mark this. F is a non-final state, so I can mark with the final states that are C, D and E. For A and B, I cannot mark this. Okay. Now this is step 2 is done. For step 3, we need to look at if there are any unmarked pairs PQ such that PX and EQX is marked, then mark P comma Q. Okay, so that means if the same transition is getting marked, only then you can mark these two together. Now for we need to do that for unmarked pairs. So unmarked pairs are this one, this one, this one, this one and these two. Okay, we need to check for these 6 boxes where we can put a mark. So let's start with the first one. So for B, and we are looking at B and A. Okay, so that is the pair. So delta A0 is producing B, delta A1 is producing C, delta B0 is producing A, and delta B1 is producing what? D. So now we have got these 4 transition. Now we need to look for each of the transition. For these 2 transition, we are getting B and A. So is B and A marked? No, it is not marked. So you can leave it. For one transition, we are getting C and D. Is C and D getting marked? Where is C and D? This one, not marked. So you can keep this as blank. Okay. Next, we need to move on to this one, D and C. So whenever I am producing delta D comma 0, I am getting what? I am getting E. If I am producing delta D comma 1, what I am getting? I am getting F. If I am producing delta c comma 0, I am getting E. And if I am producing delta c comma 1, I am getting F. Okay. Now these two transitions look exactly same, but you cannot just make them mark again, because that is not the rule. So let's look at the proper rule. So for the zero transition, what we can see, that both are producing E. So there is, so obviously for these two cases you can see that this is EE and this is FF. Obviously that is, there is nothing like this, so that is also a blank, so you can keep this thing as a blank. Okay, now let's move on to this one, E comma C. So now when we are doing uh, the transition of E comma 0 and E comma 1, what we are getting, for E comma 0 we are getting E again, for E1 we are getting F. So the same thing. So again you are getting the same thing as this one and this one, so you cannot mark them. Obviously there is no marking on E and E and F and F. Okay, so there you cannot mark it. Next up, this one, E and D. Also, if you look at E and D, you cannot mark them, as E, E and F, F are not marked. Next up, we need to look at F A and FB. So I need to look at the transition of F. So whenever I am putting F comma 0, I am getting what? F. When I am getting F comma 1, what I am getting? Also F. Okay. So whenever I am comparing it with A, the zero transition is giving me F and B. Okay. So the F and B is this cell. This is not marked, so you cannot mark it. And again, delta of transition of F comma 1 is producing F and A comma 1 is producing C. So F comma C is this cell. This is marked. So now you have to mark this particular FA cell, because this one and this one is actually a marked cell. This one, okay, this one. Now for B and F, this cell, what we are going to get, let's see. For B comma 0, for B comma 0 we got A. So A with F is now marked. So obviously you have to mark it. You don't need to proceed any further. Okay. Okay. So now any changes cannot be made, or any repetition cannot be made, or you can try it again and again, but you are going to end up with same results. Okay. So now you can see that this pairing of AB is remaining alone. The pairing of DC, EC, and sorry, this is not actually should be marked. So the pairing this one, this one, this one, and this one. So that means A comma B and C comma D, D comma E, C comma E are going to be paired together. Now if you see that these three pairs are actually a same pair of C, D and E. Okay, so you can alternatively say that AB is a pair, CDE is a pair, and AF itself is a pair. Okay. So now what you need to do is draw the transition diagram accordingly. So this is going to be the transition diagram of whatever we have discussed. For A comma B, we are getting this self loop on 0 and going to 1, obviously, because the transition you can see that happening with 0 and 0. So there is basically of no use of having these two states. You can combine them in a single state. So that is why it is a single uh, same loop. And if we are going to 1, both are going to the CDE state. Okay. And for CD also you can see that all of them are actually pointing towards the E whenever we are giving the 0 as an input symbol. So you can give a self loop on 0, and whenever you are putting 1 you can see that all of them are pointing towards F. So obviously that is going to F, and F already had this one, so we didn't make any changes to it. So that is the answer using the Maihal-Nerod theorem. So that was today's session. I know it was a little bit longer than usual, but we need to cover the syllabus as soon as possible. I hope all of the examples were easy and understandable enough for you. If you face any problem, obviously you can call me, text me in my number. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one. Stay safe, stay at home. Bye.